Hello, friends, and welcome back to 5 Agendas for the first thought paper for this year. Catching up mid-January, but this is the January thought paper, and we took a little break on the Elohim Declaration. There's one more part left, I believe, part 14. We just finished up with the last video with 13b, but this one was special. Ushering in of eternal righteousness. 70 weeks, Daniel 9:24, the failure of 1888, and super soldiers. Here we go. This discussion is in fact related to the Elohim Declaration of Revelation 22:11, as well as Revelation 13:8, which is about the Lamb slain from before the foundation of the world, that very special text, and who represents eternal righteousness, which is the very core of the everlasting gospel, nothing less. The problem that most people do not see that what is stated in the 70 weeks of Daniel 9:24, that in the midst of the week, eternal righteousness was ushered in the midst of that week. And 1,810 years later, from 34 AD, the end of the week, equals Daniel 8:14. The 2300 years, 1844, which was the commencement of the ministration of the final atonement. Laodicea, and rightly so, also believed in the restoration of the Sabbath. But the matter concerning the first angel entails the Lord of the Sabbath, not the Sabbath, which in this case was a metaphor of everlasting righteousness, pointing to he who made of Revelation 14:7, which ties in with Revelation 13:8, because it's he who made. Who's that? The Lamb slain from before the foundation of the world. Moreover, the reality of this ushering in of eternal righteousness, which was started in the midst of that 70th week, lays in the fact that the first angel's message states the following: worship him who created the heavens and the earth. This divine heraldry of the first angel is in fact John 1:1, and not the emanationism doctrine of the eternal Son. Okay, and so you click on this, and it takes you to more research on this eternally begotten Son. Okay, please read this. The link for this thought paper is in the description box below. Nor the one God of the Friday keepers, nor the Ein Sof of the Kabbalah. So here's the one God. There's an article on that. Okay, point. And Ein Sof. Okay, this is why you have to go read this. There's no way we can read through all of this and this in this video. It would just be way too long. Okay, but this is not like has nothing to do with what's being said here. This is taking you to why this is written, for it all to make sense. Okay, you will also note the lamb slain from before the foundation of the world was also ushered in, since the heavens are not pure in his sight. from Job 15. And the cleansing required, and that takes place, has to be in relation to the eternal righteousness of he who made, and therefore Hebrews 9:23. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. Laodicea at the present time worships the Sabbath. By the emphasis, the Sabbath is the meaning of the first angel. And based on their decision in 1980, see, what's this about? Okay. Here's your 28 fundamental beliefs of the Seventh-day Adventists. Okay. Notice. Okay. Notice. Okay. They are currently worshiping the Neo-Platonic hidden pantheistic theory of Philo of Alexandria. Okay. So here you have it. All right. By believing that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit as a Trinity replaces John 1:1. Why is this antagonistic to the first angel? John said there were two divines in beginning. This sophisticated and aberrant one God theology is soon going to be revised. Time of the first beast of Revelation 13. And it's already happening. Now you have pastors such as T.D. Jakes, okay, interesting, proclaiming the Trinity doctrine, yet instead of persons, they are saying manifestations. He is a oneness Pentecostal who is now confessing the Trinity in three manifestations and will not say persons. It is still basically the same thing, since it's one God, just as it is confessed in the Trinity. So here's the subtlety. It is this very subtle shift which now brings the Trinity into full pantheism mode, which, by the way, was always pantheistic since the Catholic Church Fathers borrowed the eternal Son doctrine from Philo of Alexandria. Yet whether he be a oneness Pentecostal or a Trinitarian pantheist, all these roads lead to Philo of Alexandria, and do not reflect the original two independent eternal fathers of John 1:1 and Isaiah 9:5-7. Christ being the Alpha, okay, from Revelation 22, equals no beginning, no end, no human genetics. And later, at the incarnation, he lowers himself by taking the slave form of human genetics, thus becoming the Omega, or offspring of David. See, in the Alpha, he was the root, by way of the incarnation of Jesus Christ. So the bottom line is that neither the teaching of modalism, you click on that, okay? Here's your explanation, nor the Trinity, okay? Nor Arianism are he who made of Revelation 14:7. Are you now seeing the importance of the divine heraldry of the first angel? Fear God and worship him that made. John 1:1. Worse, Laodicea, given the three angels' message, trashed the doctrine of God and wove the Trinity into its 27 fundamental beliefs, number 2 and 4, right here. In 1980. The problem most people do not see in the Trinity is that the Creed that says God, the eternal Son, is begotten prior to the ages and not made, consubstantial with the Father. And here's your link for your Nicene Creed, right there. Okay, the Nicene Creed. One God. This is false, and it strikes at the heart of John 1:1-3, which states that the Word, the Logos, was with God and was God. Two divines, enarche, or in beginning. The first angel ushers in eternal righteousness. The first angel ushers in eternal righteousness, and the process of the cleansing of the household of the high priest begins. Notice how Paul said this was so. Hebrews 1:10. And thou at the beginning, Lord, the earth didst found, and a work of thy hands are the heavens. That's the first angel. Now note how that the household of the great high priest, the most holy place, the universe, needs cleansing. These shall perish equals the imperfect universe which needs cleansing, and thou dost remain eternal, everlasting, Alpha, and all as a garment shall become old. And as a mantle thou shalt roll them together, and they shall be changed, and thou art the same, and thy years shall not fail. The relation of this matter of eternal righteousness and the 1888 message. The relation of this matter of eternal righteousness, okay, which means that he's eternal, so he has an eternal righteousness. Okay. And the 1888 message as the restoration of everlasting righteousness, A.T. Jones and E.J. Wagner didn't repair the breach, which means a failure of 1888. Because they didn't repair the breach with respect to the Godhead, the first angel's message remained compromised, and the heavens remain unclean. How? They both endorsed the Arian view of the doctrine of God. Here is your evidence. Okay? Have a read. And here. Okay? The result was that unrighteousness was placed within the statements of belief in the form of what Jones and Wagner believed about the Godhead, the failure of 1888, and revolved around the central doctrine of the little horn, that is, the triune Trinity. Doesn't mean that they are lost, since they presented the matter just as Des Ford presented the righteousness of Christ in relation to the final atonement, as well as the apotelesmatic principle, which is true, of the 1260, 1290 days of Daniel 12. What should be noted is the ultimate little horn caused the sin problem in the universe. And science proves that the universe has problems. It's in decay, just as Job 15:15 and Paul in Hebrews 9:23 already stated. Here is your links for why we just said that. Okay? and here. How does all of this relate to the beast from the bottomless pit? Revelation 9. One of the final delusions of the enemy will most probably be the welcoming back of the family of the fallen planet back to the universe by way of the visitations, as well as the revelation of Asher's secret space program, and the fact that they have been in the vicinity of our solar system in the form of mining operations. And this may include the mysterious phrase, those who are under the earth, equals the bottomless pit of Revelation 9. Note the footnote for the word abyss, netherworld, here. Okay, I had to find it. So here, Revelation 9:1. All right. Here's your netherworld, abyss, the abode of the dead and of demons. Okay. Angels of the underworld and so forth. So have a look at that. God states the first woe has passed, but 2 woes are still coming after these things. Okay. Recent investigations by way of different whistleblowers are proving that the planet Earth underground has an occult secret history, which little by little is being disclosed, and this also involves what was stated in the book of Job in the 1st chapter. So don't be surprised. It's in our Bible, okay? Job 1:7 from the American Standard Version, read in the earth. Douay Rheims states walked through it, Geneva walking in it, and the BRG version to and fro in the earth. Job 1:7, okay? So this should not surprise us, since during the 7th century BC, Satan had the Phoenicians, and how the king of Tyre was a microcosm of Satan. So click this and, have a read about the Phoenicians. All right. So the king of Tyre was a microcosm of Satan in Eden, or vice versa. The worldwide travels. Okay. And there's a, click on this and you can watch a little, I think it should come up. Okay, so the entire history of the Phoenicians from 2500 to 300 BC, okay? Have a look at that. So the worldwide travels of these ancient peoples are evidenced in the many inscriptions found in different nations. Are you interested yet? The key to the puzzle appears to be the red-headed gene and its link to the coneheads of Peru and the Moi of Easter Island. Okay, so here's another link. Go have a read of that. It says it's not found. Well, okay. Now, the link for this thought paper is in the description box below, but if you're having any trouble finding it in that list of links, it's in the you go to 5 agendas and scroll down, newsletter, okay? And the one we're talking about right now is January 23, Ushering in of Eternal Righteousness. Okay, and you can just click on that, and there it is. And any of these links you can click on right there, okay? There is no etymology in reference to the word, yet the archaeological evidence indicates that the ancient religious customs are derived possibly from the Phoenicians, who were known as master mariners. Although there doesn't exist any evidence of their involvement on that island, yet the word Molokai, may or may not be saying that right, seems to be linked with Moloch, and the ancient also had sacrifices as well as groves and altars. Brian Foster. Okay, here's a video of this. The elongated skulls, DNA, and critical questions. Okay. For example, cannot account for the alterations of DNA in the redheads, saying there is nothing on Earth that resembles these mutations. It comes from those Moloch rituals of the Canaanite deity as noted by Stephen in Acts chapter 7. Go read that. And is, in fact, a literal demonic science. Demons are also known to be shapeshifters. The transhuman element in relation to Satan is becoming clear as time goes on. Also, why did Neptune, or Poseidon, equals Sidon, have a trident as a weapon, and trident happens to be a New Age symbol? These Phoenicians proved to be almost more enigmatic than the UFO phenomena itself. Notice what is stated in the link below in reference to the king of Tyre with Poseidon. Sidon. Okay, here's your king of Tyre. Have a look at that. The Phoenicians were master mariners and a type race of super soldiers. The question is, why? We know they were master mariners, but the transhuman element had a specific purpose, which is also seen in the giants of Canaan. And why did God say to wipe them out? The Asher connection is the master race concept and Uberman. The Kandahar giant, ooh, what's that? So here's a video that you can go look at in Afghanistan with L.A. Marzulli that killed American soldiers is an example. The answer lays in the career of the descendants of Asher and their other worldly pursuits in the form of spiritualism. There's another video. Space Secret program. Okay. I think you're going to really have a lot of fun with this. And communication with the so-called aliens, and then the back engineering of these technologies. And finally, after World War II, the long trek to the land of Admiral Byrd visited down under. I'll see. Well, what's that about? You don't know. Okay. Here's another documentary. Okay. I think I've got your attention by now. And finally, the off-world pursuits, which were proven to be a reality when Gary McKinnon, oh, who's that? Okay, there you go. Have a look at that. Hacked the wizards and M guys at the big establishment. Gary presented us with a little window as to what is truly taking place, and this matter shines a clear light on the words of Jesus in relation to the upcoming snare, which would be a massive deception of self-righteousness and self-reliance by way of Satan's top nation on the totem pole of the occult, namely Asher. This also sheds light on those winged deities thus indicating that Asher would fly very high in opposition to the men in linen in the latter days. Conclusion: the failure of 1888, which was not repairing the breach concerning the first angel's warning, and the missing component of eternal righteousness as it relates to Revelation 13 and verse 8, the Lamb slain from before the foundation of the world, eternal righteousness, is a major lesson for Laodicea and why they absorbed the Arian and the triune Trinity at the same time, and leaves them without voice or testimony concerning the first angel's warning. Nothing, nada, kaput. God has left the lessons of the ancient Canaanites and Moloch deity that has a tremendous fascination today within the symbolisms of corporations and also with the motion pictures of Hollywood. Notwithstanding what is occurring in real life with human sacrifice and SRA, satanic ritual abuse, and what is termed occult integration. See, that's why you've got to have a look at this stuff before it disappears. Okay? What this means is the prophetic events as they transpire as God has stated will occur will be a very confusing and desperate time spiritually. We ought to begin to take seriously why Jesus said the abomination of desolation that refers to Daniel 12:11 and the 1290 are literal days in its apotelismatic application, literal 1290 days. Apotelismatic, second, coming after the 1290 years which ran from 554 to 1844. These are the literal days. Jesus referred to this abomination of desolation and used it as a sign for the end. And 554 was not the end. That's why this has to be taken apotelismatic, especially as to what occurs in the content of events listed by God in the second portion of the second woe. Wait until we get to all that. If you are not familiar with the sequence of the three woes of the apocalypse, it's time for a heads up to know why God associates these divine markers to the end time events that unfold at a rapid pace. So what then ushers in eternal righteousness? In respect to end events, as a result of Daniel 9:24, God is saying that Revelation 13 as the answer. And it's more important than the mark or the two beasts. And the answer is in verse 8 of chapter 13, and the Lamb slain from before the foundation of the world. And his eternal righteousness, his eternal identity. And this is the only testimony that will stand alone with divine protection. If you are unfamiliar, one should review the Elohim Declaration series here. Okay? Starting with part 1. Why? Because the number one theological issue in this upcoming 1290 days is the worship of the beast in its image. And the only thing that the 8th king, okay, from Revelation 17, also spoken of in 2 Thessalonians 2, the only thing that 8th king cannot defeat is the eternal righteousness of Christ, the man in linen, who is the Lamb slain from before the foundation of the world, who has an eternal identity, eternal righteousness, can't be defeated. And that's what John 1:1-3 is saying, which is as of his identified status as Alpha and Omega, which equals Revelation 1:8 and 13. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which was and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. And 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one likened to the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. Okay? And that equals a testimony that has no guile. And that's the eternal righteousness of the Lamb slain from before the foundation of the world. Keep in mind, the 8th king is the impostor of the real man in linen, which is why we have the first angel's warning to worship he who made. This discussion for many will be difficult to recognize, yet has only scratched the surface. Reread 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, because that 8th king is that identity in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And we'll talk more about that later. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Have a look at the links. It may seem like a lot, but it's well worth the time. God bless. Until next time.